Okay, fine. Oh,
We can start.
okay, so we are live now, so you can start typing your questions. We'll take, there are a few questions that are already been submitted, so we'll try to handle them one after the other. In the meantime, if you have questions, please key in and then we'll answer that as we go. Yeah. So the first question was, can you provide us detailed solution of every assignment? Okay, sorry. The first question was, can you provide us detailed solution of every assignment? Maybe it's too late right now. The second part of the question is, we doubt in assignment 7 solution. Asking code and in solution time is mentioned as numeric value. Please explain. Okay, so the point in this is, if you look at the table, we have asked for a part. The part is the base plate. There is an alpha and beta. Alpha and beta are the degrees. You know that alpha and beta are elements of the symmetry that you look at, and alpha is perpendicular to the axis of insertion and beta is parallel to the axis of insertion. So you just need to give that degrees, whether it is 0, 90, 270, whatever that is. You need to give that degrees as alpha and beta, and we have separately given two columns. Both of them are named as 2 digits. They are for your handling and insertion. So you need to go back to the Boothroyd chart, and then you should take your alpha beta numbers and the corresponding, depending on what the case is that we are looking at, whether it is easy to access or there is issues with vision in terms of the part that you're looking at. Is it accessible? It's not accessible. It resists insertion. Based on that, there will be some digits. So those digits are the 2-digit codes that you need to put for both handling and insertion. So the question, the set question is right. I guess I answer your question. If it is not, be more specific, draw your question more specifically, and we'll try to answer that. Do we know or do we don't know? If quality loss function for the second question here is, if quality loss function for a product is given as Q equals 15 times y minus 10 the whole squared, what is the target performance for such a product? So the point here is, right, so the whole point here is, you just need to remember this stuff. So here Q is your quality loss and y minus m is the deviation from m that you're looking at. So y is the variable. So if I were to say this, I'm just drawing one side, but it can be both sides, right? So now this is your y and I'm saying this to be m. So the y minus m is, let's say that a dotted line is one realization of yi. So that yi minus m. So you want to get this delta, if I were to call. So if I am varying by delta or I am deviating by delta from m, because at m your loss function is 0. If you look at it, your loss function is 0 at m. The moment you deviate from m, you incur some sort of loss, and at y, how much will that loss be? That's what this equation is capturing. It's just if you were to call this delta, then it is just k delta square. That's all. Okay. So the question, what is the target performance for such a product? We learned from the session that y minus m, so y minus m is equal to 7 means the deviation is 7. Okay, so 7 times, so 7 square. So in this case it will be 7 square. So it's 49. And I guess your k would have been 2000. So 2000 times 49 will be equal to here 9800. Then k in this particular case is 2000. I mean, I should have found, I don't know exactly, or I don't recall exactly what the question was, but if the question was something like this, q was 9800, find k, then it is k is equal to 9800 divided by 49, and this guy is 2000. That's how we do it. Yeah, but this is just to answer the question that you asked, but the intention of the question was very different. We wanted you to compare with the standard form of the quality loss function and figure out the corresponding parameter values. That's what in one sense, that's what I explained also. Okay. So the third question that came before we started is, kindly justify the answer of the mentioned question, how it will be calculated. Okay, number one, there was no attachment, and I'm sorry I don't have access to what was the question. Yeah, it is not clear what question, even if I had access to the assignment. Okay, so if you don't mind, you can type it. We'll try to answer. If not, you can put it on the online forum, and we'll answer. We have been pretty bad answering the online forum questions, but tonight and tomorrow we'll take out all the questions. So if some question is not answered in this session, please put it on the online forum and I'll answer to that. Question number 4 is, suppose a case study has 8 independent variables, of which one variable has 2 levels and remaining 7 variable has 3 levels. The minimum number of experiment is calculated using the given formula as 16. Which OA is used? Yeah. So the deal is, there are 8 variables, 1 and 7. One variable has 2 levels and 7 variables have 3 levels. So if you run a full factorial experiment, it's going to be 3 raised to 7 and 2 raised to 1. So that is going to be, I don't have a calculator, so let me quickly do it. Three raised to 7 times 2. Some 4374. So if you were to do a full factorial experiment, you need to have these many experiments. Okay. Now the question is, if I'm going to do half factorial of this, you can go and do this, right? But is this correct? It is not correct, because you have some factors with 3 levels. So it ought to be like 1/3 sort of things, right? So the only possible combination in that could be your L18, because your L16 and L12 are predominantly, your L16 and L12, they can handle only 2 levels. Okay. So this was not explicitly discussed in the class, but we expected you to expected you to look into the internet or read up a little bit before answering this question. That's one online question. That's one. So we have sort of answered the online question that were posted before we started the session. So now we'll go back to what is the basic tool complexity cost CB? Justify the answer of assignment 5.
It depends on the part type, flat type or box type, and also whether it has undercuts.
Okay, so I am not the right person to answer this question. Professor Ramu, who offered that part, is not available right now. However, we will give you an answer which is not final. But the same question will also be answered in the online forum through an announcement. Please make a note of the question. So this question is asked by Varshil Shah. What is the basic tool complexity CB? Justify the answer of the assignment. Basically, the tool complexity is based on the size. I think the type.
Part type, box type or flat type.
Yeah. So whether it's a box type or flat type. Is it also based on the perimeter and all that?
No, it depends on whether there are undercuts or
okay. So it depends whether there are undercuts and stuff like that. So maybe if you have accounted for all this and the answer that is provided is different from what you are getting, then a proper justification will be provided by Professor Saranakumar. This will come on the announced part of our online forum. Boothroyd charts. Sir, is the charts will be available during the NPTEL examination? If there are questions that will require the use of charts, the charts will be available obviously. The answer of... Okay. Div Patel is asking this question. Sir, the answer of the beta symmetry of the screw is 360 degree. The answer is wrong. It should be 0 degree. We'll account for this in the assignment as well. Thanks, Div Patel, for pointing this out.
So it is not something not recorded. I think this is from the.
I have not seen.
Yeah. This is from fan. This is from fan book.
Fine.
Basic tool complexity.
That is even in that side also.
Yeah, it is there. But the explanation is like that's how they find it. Yeah, that's
You show this to him. Ask him, does he understand what? consider part insertion code will be as there is confusion and part is easy to align or not. That is code 06 or 08. Okay, so Div Patel is asking this question on how do you consider part insertion. One needs to understand whether it is easy to align or not.
But we have given the assembly procedure.
Yeah, so usually when we give questions, I'm sure that you have got the assignment with the product. Okay, disassemble the product. We have given stepwise. We have told you. In that, one way or the other, we would mention this. You are absolutely right. Something that is easy for me to align need not be easy for you to align. But we would in order to make sure that it is uniform in terms of the code, we'll make sure that we explicitly mention that one way or the other. The part is easy to align or not to align. It might not be the same thing that is on your Bootra chart. Otherwise, it's simple. You just look at this and go and find the code. So, directly or indirectly, we would have mentioned in the assembly process. That's why we give you stepwise instruction on the assembly process. So, it will be there. So, usually there shouldn't be any confusion. If you read the question properly, there shouldn't be any confusion. If there is any in the assignment that we have given, please bring it to our notice. You can post the question on the online forum and we'll answer. We'll be, how do I say, we'll be active henceforth. Okay, so in between Varshil had a question on how XPI total has been calculated from the XPI score. I will have Professor Sarana Kumar take this question. We have noted this question and it will be replied in the online forum. Sorry about this, Varshil, but both of our time together did not overlap. I just reposted the same question. Do you understand? Did we schedule any additional class? Yeah, so the next question is again posted by Varshal. It says how to consider the theoretical minimum number of parts in the assembly. So if you recall, the theoretical minimum number of parts is required to estimate the assembly efficiency. As said, you can call this efficiency as some output over input, right? So the input is the time taken for manual assembly, assuming that everything is fine, and the output is what is the time that is taken by our case. And how do one get the the minimum number of parts is based on the three criteria that we have discussed. So the first criteria is the part moves relative to other parts during the normal operating mode. So one part has to move with respect to other parts during the normal operating mode. For a proper operation, if a part needs to move with respect to the other part, that is one case. Then only it can be considered as a part. Then the second point is the part must be of a different material or must be isolated from all other parts assembled. For whatever reason, it could be insulation, electrical isolation, vibration, damping and stuff like that. And the last one is the part must be separate from all other assembled parts, otherwise the assembly of the part meeting one of the preceding criteria would be prevented. Unless the part is a different part, the points that we have mentioned in 1 and 2 will be violated. That is the third point. Okay, so you apply these three criteria to the part that you are looking at, and if they satisfy all of these three, then that part can be considered as a part that needs to be separated. That's how you identify the theoretical minimum number of parts. For instance, we know that the fastener, any type of screw, is a different part, but that does not qualify as does not qualify as the theoretical minimum number of part, because for instance the material, which is the second property, will be violated. It means that for its proper purpose, the screw could be of any material, which means it could be of the material of the same this thing. So say the part itself, whatever material the part is made of, the screw can also be made. Hence the second quality will be violated. Therefore, screw or any fastener cannot be considered as a minimum number of part, the theoretical minimum number of part. So that's how one calculates the theoretical minimum number of parts in an assembly. I hope your question is answered, Varshal. Supan Shah is asking how to calculate IDGF. I assume that this comes from the manufacturability or the sustainability part, because I don't remember discussing something with an acronym of IDGF. Okay, so if it is from Professor Sarana Kumar or something, they will answer, provided they have discussed. We don't know what IDGF stands for. Supan, can you please expand the acronym?
So virtual shell is another version. If you are using the same part as the
Yeah, virtual you need to apply the idea remains the same, provided it is a separate part. You apply these three conditions to that particular part, and even if the same part is repeated 3 times and it satisfies these conditions all the 3 times, then they will be considered as the theoretical minimum number of part.
difference between SM and SR based on feed rate on maximum feed rate. Yeah, we can stop.
To start with GSK.
No. So it's robotic assembly part. So there's something called maximum feed rate and required feed rate. basically if the that is the max it is a limitation for the machine. It can't go ahead.
Yeah, so Varshil Shah has this question on what is the difference between FM and FR. So FM is the maximum feed rate and FR is the required feed rate. So this FM maximum feed rate is more like a specification for the machine. It says that the machine can only feed at this rate. So let's say the feed rate is 10 per minute. I'm just giving an example here, okay? So let's say from a time perspective, you have an assembly requirement where your required feed rate is like 12 per minute. Okay? Then this is not the right machine that you're looking at. So your feed rate should always be less than or equal to the maximum feed rate. That's all the concept is. I hope the difference is also clear from that. Meaning you can only feed in sort of like batches of 10. That's one way to look at it, per minute. So if you take like 12 parts, then it means it's the next batch. Whether you want to feed 12 or 20, it is the same because the machine runs for that much time. So the more the feed rate is closer to your F max, the better it is, the feed max, the FM. Okay, so it's sort of an very uncomfortable calmness from both sides. There have been no questions real time. So we'll wait for about 5 more minutes before we wrap up. So if any one of you have, because I still see about 6 of you are watching, or rather 7 of you are watching. So if you have questions, please key in. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up in about 5 minutes. I mean, I'll be happy to be present and answer all your queries. Worst come worst, I'm going to say, I didn't teach this part process. Aruna Kumar or Shiv Kumar might answer. But that's okay. I mean, if you have any question, you can go ahead and ask, and we'll try our best to answer. If there are no questions, we are wrapping up in about 5 minutes.
Sir, we are waiting for you to wrap up.
Oh, there you go. Someone posted a new question. As sample size increases, difference in sample statistics and population parameter, what happens to them? See, the point is, Dev Patel, we would have missed this question if we have wrapped up. So now imagine this picture out here, okay? So this is the population, which is almost impossible to get. I believe this question came in the assignment. So now these are samples. Different samples, let's say, okay? Is it lag? The green dots are also red dots. The way that I have drawn, the green dots are also red dots. So now the point is simple. So the number of, so let's say that the population here was, I don't know, some 10,000, whatever that you are looking at, and the sample was only about 100. So when you take 2 samples, then it becomes 200. So you can keep doing like this, and then if you're taking like 100 such samples, then you will end up being in 10,000. So as the sample size increases from 100 to 200 to 250 to 400 to 700 and to 10,000, these statistics, what are the usual statistics that we spoke about? They are the mu and sigma, which is actually the estimates, will actually converge to the original mu and sigma. That's what the point is. Okay. So this was also in the assignment, but that's what we are saying. As the sample size increases, the difference in the sample statistics and the population parameter will go down, because we call it statistic, right? So we call, for instance, mu, we don't call it mu, we call it the expected value of x, provided x is the average, because we say the average or the mean is for the population, and I'm taking a sample and I'm estimating what its average will be. So that's why we use the word expected average, expected value. So I expect this is what will be the average for your population. I hope that answers your question. Shubham. The next question is by Mr. Venkateshwar Rao. He asks, can you please explain handling code and insertion code for screw, assignment number 7? Is that the same question? Screw 360 degrees.
Yeah, so beta has to be corrected.
Yeah. So I'm not sure whether Venkateshwar Rao is asking the same question. So because I don't have assignment 7 handy with me. The deal is for the screw, the okay, so this is your insertion direction, and so this is going to be my alpha direction, and this is going to be my beta direction. Okay, so in this particular case, by what should you rotate so that it will come back to the original thing, right? For a screw, it's usually the beta should be equal to 0, and alpha, it again depends on the screw, or it's 360. Yeah, so since the head is there, the alpha should be 360 degrees, because if you take about this axis, this guy has to rotate in this direction and then come up. Okay, so it has to be 360 because the head has to go all the way up. Okay, how many 3-factor interactions are possible when 6 factors with 2 levels are considered? So the question is 6 factors and 2 levels. So how many 3-factor combinations can you have? You can have only 6C3. We might not have explicitly discussed this in the class, but it's a byproduct of what we have discussed. I mean, you can try doing this in a very crude manner also. You can say A, B, C, D, E, F as your factors and assume that there are 2 levels to it. And if you were to write it as, A, B, C as the first thing, then A, B, A, C, A, D, like that you can do it. And if you do it, how many combinations of 3-factor interactions you will have, you will know. You can go like this: A, B, C, A, B, D, ABE. I'm not going to complete it. You can try around and then you can see whether this 6C3 works. I answered handling to be 12, insertion code to be 39. Okay, Venkateshwar Rao again brings out this question. I answered handling 12 and insertion code 39. I'm not sure if this is for the screw, then we'll go back and take a look at it, because we ourselves realized that it was a mistake just now. If there was a mistake, we'll make sure that you don't lose points. Make a note of the question. Meaning, if there was a mistake from our end, all of you will, whoever attended that question, irrespective of the answer you got, you will get the point. We have not evaluated it.
Usually they don't evaluate if something is wrong.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. The denominator changes.
If another question is given wrong, then by evaluating the result.
That's what I'm saying, the denominator changes. My student was trying to make a point like if there was an error in the solution that we had given, what happens is we won't evaluate that particular part of the question. So if there were 10 questions and we figured out one of the question is wrong, the denominator of the total score is 9. The denominator of your score is, in the denominator it is 9, it's not 10, because one of the question is not correct. the application part of Dixon and Police method was not done properly. What are the chances that might come in the exam? That's a tricky question. We will take this question to Professor Saranakumar. If required, he can make a small. I don't know how he is going to answer that part. If required, he will provide additional supplementary material. Okay, Shubham, we don't have assignment number 7. We are not able to, because this whole thing was done quite long ago. Okay, so we don't exactly recall the example that the problem that we had given. It should be 360 degree as there is a V notch provided. So did we answer? I'm not sure what was the question and what answer we had given. We'll take a second look at it. If there was a mistake, we will again reevaluate the answers. The points. So you can hold it whichever way you want. What did we give? Yeah, so one of the things that my student thinks is, because he is able to access certain stuff, so he says that it is just a notch plate and it is assumed that the assembly is on top of it. So it doesn't matter where, unless we have given you some information on the notch plate that it is going to get assembled on something, and in that case the notch should be in certain direction, then it will be 360 degree. Otherwise the notch can be in any direction, then it does not matter. So that's why probably we have given it 0, but I'll take a second look at it and get back to you. Yeah, Venkateshwar Rao, it's the same question, I guess. I assume that you are asking the question on the screw. It is a mistake from our end. I am extremely sorry about it. It should not be 360, it should be 0 for beta. The beta, it's actually 0, it is not 360. Alpha, it is 360. We'll take care of the points for the assignments. Well, we'll make an attempt to post a solution, Shubham. Specifically for assignment number 7, we'll do that. Okay, so when I told that we are going to wrap up, some few questions came up. So we are sort of like, we started at 4:32, now it's like 5:37. We'll stick around for another 5 minutes. If you have questions, we'll take it. Otherwise, we are wrapping it in another 4 to 5 minutes. Yeah, someone, Ladam Engineering Solutions. Hello. If you have a question, go ahead. We are wrapping in a few minutes. You can just look at it directly. They did not. No, they didn't move it because of that. Look at how I'm seeing. Okay, people are just thanking. So thank you very much for coming over on an evening. So we'll then wrap it up because there are no questions. If you have questions, please post it in the online forum. We'll be active henceforth. We have only about a week left, so we'll answer all the questions that are there on the online forum. Sorry about not responding, but we'll respond it in the next couple of days. Thank you very much, and good luck with the rest of the course and your exam. Thank you.